Okay.
Hello and welcome to the Happy Cells and Souls channel. My name is Julie Powers and I'm a licensed Zumba instructor and I'm a partner with the Juice Plus company. And my mission in life is to inspire healthy living around the world and to help people understand that life is better when they're dancing through it. But my expanded mission is to create better health at the cellular level and more joy at the cellular level, because we really only get one body while we're here and we got to take care of it because nobody else is going to. And we're supposed to be happy while we're here. We're supposed to have joy. And so that's what I want to spread in this channel. And I have been really, really privileged to meet some amazing people throughout my life. And I love that each person that I get to meet has a story to share. And the people that I'm highlighting on this channel are those who either impact the world in joyful, happy, amazing ways, or they have cool stories to share just about their lives, or they have things in their lives that can impact others in incredible ways. And that's what we're talking about today with my friend Judy Davis. And I have known Judy for many years and we are very connected in many ways. And, Judy is one of those people that she's a very tiny package, but so much light comes out of her that you really can't, hide her under a bushel. So she will seep out through the cracks of that bushel, right? And so what we're talking about today is the fact that Judy has had a lifetime of volunteering, and she is currently involved in something called CASA, which is court appointed, Court appointed special advocates
Right.
for abused and neglected children. And so I first want to talk to you, Judy, about how have you spent your lifetime in a volunteer role?
So my parents always did stuff. And to me, growing up, it was just they did stuff. My mom was active in the church. She did the flowers. She decorated. She cleaned the linens. There was always a potluck that we were taking stuff to. My dad, he was we grew up overseas, and so whenever new families, school teacher families would come on base, he was a part of the meter greeter committee for a long time. And so the gist of it was you met someone at the airport, you helped them find their housing, you showed them around base, and that was really pretty much it. But my parents always took it further because they loved where we lived so much, and they wanted everyone to get out in the countryside and to see new places and to meet new people. And so they made sure that it was more than just here's the BX, here's the bank, here's the hospital. We went all over showing people around. And to me,
it was tour guides. You were the
yes.
volunteer tour guides in Japan for people that were coming.
Right. And it was fun. I grew up just doing that stuff, and it was just what we did as a family. I never thought of it as volunteering. So then, I get into high school, and we didn't have, one of our masses didn't have music. And my friend and I were like, well, we'll do the music. And so she played the piano and I led the choir, and we helped with Bible school. And it just those things that we did as kids that when we got big enough, we started volunteering because it was just fun. We looked forward to being able to do that. And that just kind of carried through. My friends laugh at me. I work with a group at my church, and we do a free monthly meal. It's called Our Father's Table. Pre-COVID, once a month, we would have a meal for the community, and anyone could come. It wasn't, people need things for different reasons.
Right.
Some of it is income, but some of it's lonely. We had a lot of older people who would come in and have a family meal together with kids running around, and I remember saying, well, I do this for selfish reasons. I do it because of the high. I love helping people. It's so nice when you make good food and people enjoy it. Is there anything better than that? And so they would always laugh and say, oh, Judy, she, volunteers not to be, because it feels good. And I'm like, I do, it feels good. And I think everyone can agree, when you do nice things, you feel nice, and even though you're doing it for someone less fortunate, we use that, but we're all less fortunate in some way, so, and then And then our kids, it's hard when they're little to do things. It's really, really hard. And, but we would always do the bell ringing at Christmas, and they would expect it, and they would look forward to standing out in front of Walmart, with the United Well bell ringing, and helping with meals, and working at the pantry, and all those little things. And it's nice when they start to get bigger themselves, and they find a community garden to work at, or they're the first ones to start putting chairs away without being told, at a function. It's just nice. So
It's
so
it's definitely a learned lifestyle. If you are brought up in a home where volunteering and giving of yourself is just
right.
part of your life, then it's going to pass down into your kids and their kids and their kids, because that's what we're trying to
Right.
show them, so that that mirror is there, and
That's
it's just
yeah.
second nature. It's just
Yeah.
part of who they are, and you are just a prime example of that. Ever since I've known you, you've been involved with multiple organizations, and anybody need help, well, call Judy. Because that's one of those things, you always call the busiest person, because they'll get
Right.
stuff done. And you've always been one of those people that have had so many hats on at the same time. But one of the big hats that you're wearing right now, and I know you said that when I wanted to talk to you about CASA and really kind of highlight what is CASA, you were like, I'm not an expert. I haven't been doing this for very long. And that's what we really want to make sure people understand, is that you don't have to be an expert at anything to really impact someone's life.
Right.
Especially when it comes to these children who have literally no one else speaking up for them and being on their side. So I'd really like for you to explain, as a non-expert, as a very passionate
Right.
volunteer, about CASA, how you got involved, how did you even hear about it, and then what did it take for you to be part of that organization?
So I learned about CASA 20 some years ago. We had gotten one of those ACA, those work capital campaign catalogs with all of the different places that you could um, volunteer or
Oh, direct your
contribute. Yeah, direct your money towards. And so I read through that thing front to back. It just fascinated me that there were so many different amazing organizations. And CASA was one that I read about then, and I thought, that sounds so cool. So it has always been in my head. Then we had kids, and then we get busy, and it, I think a lot of people at some point in their lives think, could I adopt a child? Could I foster a child? You kind of have that thought, and then a lot of people find that it's not for them, or they're not sure if they could do it. And I was one of those people. I would, if a child magically just fell into my lap, of course I would take it. I would take care of it. Absolutely. But that's just not how it works all the time. But then the thought of fostering, I wasn't quite sure if I could do that. That's a big job. But I could help kids in foster care. I kind of had that in my head for a long time. And then purely selfishly, I will be honest, my youngest started driving, and he didn't need me anymore. And it was an adjustment, right? I had already sent 2 out of the house. The 2 girls were already in college, moved away, doing their own thing, figuring out the whole adulting world. But I still had my baby. But my baby was not a baby anymore, and he started driving and working, and I didn't have to be the bus driver. I didn't have to take people to practice. I didn't have to help with homework. Like, all of a sudden, I needed a new purpose. I was floundering a little bit. And I remember when the kids were little, someone had told me that we go through these stages in our life. And at first, we're very self-centered, obviously. And then we become family-centered. And then we start becoming more community centered. And that's when that volunteerism starts to come out. And typically, honestly, most of the volunteers that we see are older. They're retired people. And I think it's kind of the same thing. You're at this next stage in your life, and all of a sudden I need a new purpose. How am I going to do that? How am I going to find that that sense of community and that new family, because everywhere you go, you build a family, right? You have your school family, you have your church family, you have your sports family, you have your theater family, whatever your passion is, you find this new group of people that becomes your circle. So I knew I needed a new circle. So I sent an email out to the I'm interested in CASA button on the website. And someone called me back right away and they said, well, unfortunately, St. Francis County does not have a CASA. And I was like, oh, that's too bad. I guess I'll find something else. And she said, but there's this lady, Julie Krupe, who is trying to get one going. And she's on the right track. We've got, she's working on it. And I know she's looking to start like a steering committee. And that's how it started. So my name got sent to Julie and Julie called me and I started before it was formed, when we were still working on getting all of the paperwork and all of the approvals and the judge to sign off. There's a lot that goes on to get a CASA going. So here in St. Francis County, well, in the 24th Judicial District, which is our 4-county circuit, St. Francis County, Washington County, Madison, and St. John. Those 4 counties make up this circuit. So CASA of the Parkland, which serves that district, is the newest CASA in the state of Missouri. So we're very new. We have been up and running for less than a year. And I'm on the board, but I'm also a volunteer. And as much as I enjoy the board work, I really love the working with the family part. Right. So to be a CASA, you have to want to do it. And then you contact the director of your area. So for us, it would be Joanna Watts. She is the director of our CASA here. And she does an interview. And it's actually one of the hardest interviews I've ever done, because it really makes you think, because this is a big job. As a CASA,
not just like a bunch of people that get together and say, hey, let's help a few kids out. No, this is like real government, like judicial
it
stuff.
Is. We get court appointed. So once we get approved and trained.
Oh, hang on. We froze up here. Hang on 1 second. Okay, let's see. You get appointed by the court.
Oh, now mine's. Start that again.
Okay. Technology. All right. You're appointed by the court and you're approved by the court.
Yes. So once we get, we do our interview, then we go through a training process, and it's a 30-hour training. And we talk about.
You also had to have references, right?
Yes. So you had to fill out an application, and then Joanna goes through those and finds people that she thinks will be a fit, because we are not, by any means, we're not lawyers. Here are the things that we're not. We're not lawyers. We're not
counselors.
We're not. We could be. It's most of the CASAs are working somewhere else. Many of the CASAs are professionals working, because this is a volunteer job. Mm-hmm. My background is education. We have people that have been trained so far with different education backgrounds. We've got like a speech pathologist, we've got some counselors, we've got parents, we've got professionals in the business world. We have retired people from nursing. We have all sorts of different people with the same intent of helping a child in need. So we talk about changing a child's story. In the foster care system, when a child goes into foster care, they're there because of some sort of abuse and neglect. And it's big. We don't take kids out of homes, or the state doesn't take kids out of homes just because. I mean, there really has to be substantial evidence in a real case. And then the kids have so many people in their lives. They have social workers, they have counselors, they have all the people at their school, they have different doctors, they have, if they need medication, they're going to have a psychiatrist or psychologist, they're going to have a whole team of people. They have their foster parents, they have their biological parents who may or may not be in the same household, and all of those people want what they think is best for that child. But all of those different pieces of the puzzle are hard to put together.
Right.
So you'll hear a lot of times we have high turnover, especially with social workers, just because of the way the system works. Some of it is social workers changing jobs, but some of it is just because of different parties to the case, they have to change that social worker. And you'll hear of kids having 4 or 5 different social workers. Every 3 or 4 months, they have someone else who's in charge of all of that information.
Right.
Going through all of that information takes so much time.
There's an evolving door without somebody that's like the cohesive glue.
Right.
And you, as the CASA, you are the glue for that.
Right. So we have access to everything. So we could talk to their teachers, their counselors, the people at school. If they have an IEP, we could be a party to making sure that, how that's going and how they're progressing in school. What is their attendance like? Healthcare professionals, mental health professionals, the counselors, what do the kids need? But also, especially when they get to be older, when they're teenagers, what do the kids want? All kids do have some sort of a desire. Some of them absolutely want to be reunited and believe that things can be better. Some, those ties have been severed so much that it's going to take years and years and years for that trust to be built up again, for those parents to find lasting sobriety, say, because that's something that we have a lot of problems with is, as a nation, we have a lot of problems with mental health and with drug and alcohol. And those things can't happen quickly.
Right.
And even though parents are making those steps and making those changes, sometimes it takes longer than is fair to the child.
So what you were doing, like how many children are you working with at any one time?
One.
Okay. So so we only have a couple of minutes. So I want to make sure that we paint a really good picture of this, because you are the glue for one child at a time.
Or a family group. So if there's 3 kids, if there's 3 siblings, you might have a sibling group, even if they're in different homes. But as a CASA, we're there to get to know the child, number one, and all of the different things about that child and the pieces. And then we report that to the courts. And so we actually write an actual court report that everyone can see. The child's lawyers, the parents' lawyers, the social workers, the juvenile officers, the judge, all of those. So whatever I say, everyone's going to see. And that gets presented as evidence to help the judge make the best decision for that child.
Right. Well, I think, it's really, really important. And I didn't hear of CASA ever until our mutual friend Heather was at CASA in Jefferson County,
right,
Missouri. And so I was introduced to that. And I've had many people in my life that are either foster parents or have been through the foster system as a child. And now, they're good friends of mine as adults. And so I really feel like, even though I've never had a very hands-on personal experience with foster care, I know of many situations where it would be so nice to know that that child had someone who was basically holding their hand through this whole process in a way that they're able to look at the big picture. And so I am so thankful for people like you who can do this.
Right.
And so what you're saying is you don't have to have a certain kind of background. You don't have to have a certain kind of degree or anything. You just have to care and be willing to go through the hoops to be part of the process. So what I will do is in the notes for this conversation, I will include some information about how to contact someone locally. But CASA is national. It's across
It
the
is.
United States. So if you're watching this and you're not in the Southeast Missouri area or in the Parkland or whatever, there's CASA where you are. You might not have it in your county necessarily, because obviously our county was missing that for a while. But maybe it's something that you can seek out in a nearby county.
Yes.
So is there any one particular website or anything that you can highlight for us here?
So for us here, it would be CASA of the Parkland .org.
Okay.
And I would say whatever you feel most passionate about, you can find a way to give back. So it might not be CASA. I mean, I would love it if it was CASA. It might not be CASA. It might be something through your church, your community. If you love to exercise, there's all sorts of different things. And I think that when you give, and when you do what you love, it's not work. We say that all the time. And that's the same with volunteering, and it's a matter of time and talent and treasure. And sometimes you're at that point in your life where that's what you have. You don't have the time, but you have the money. And so you donate. Some people don't have the money, but they do have the time or the talent. And that is really, really valuable. So there's so many different ways to give back. And I think finding what brings you joy gives you more joy, so.
Absolutely. And you couldn't have said it any better. So whoever's watching this right now, please look into your heart and figure out what it is that you have to give and what you would like to receive. And then go and do that exchange in a way that impacts your community or the larger community, and or just one person. It might just be one person that you read to. Can't do it in person right now, but you can do it over the phone, and you can do it in a Zoom call, and there are ways to help. And so thank you so much, Judy. Is there anything left that you'd like to just share?
No, thank you.
I'm
This
just
was
so
nice.
happy that you said yes to this, because I know you did so kind of against your wishes. So thank you so much.
All right.